Hello people too, and welcome back to another review. So this time I'm reviewing a film from the same director as Night and Urban Fear. I wasn't a fan of Night. I thought it was not good, but Urban Fear, the trailer looked like it could be a fun indie flick. I unfortunately never got around to watching it. I would like to go and watch it though, because I'd like to compare the tonal shift that it would take from something like Night to this, because this one, it's different. Um, this is an anthology film, which, if you were a big fan of horror, you've of course seen shit like Creepshow or VHS or ABCs of Death. And this one is, of course, more in the vein of Creepshow. We have this skeleton-looking motherfucker, which is like the skeleton from Creepshow. He's going around looking at gravestones, which represent the main characters in our stories. So the thing is we already know all our characters are going to die. So yeah. Well, except for I guess the second story, but the first story, of course, is about a guy who finds a Ouija board while he's cleaning, and he uses it, and spooky stuff happens. It's the most generic and worst story in the movie. Um, the second story is about a guy who's writing a horror film, and this one's actually pretty well directed, especially for an indie director. The way the camera is done, the editing, I actually really enjoy the story, well, especially from, like I said, an indie director. But it's about a guy that's directing a horror film or writing one, and of course around him there's a horror movie actually happening, and it is a serial killer going around his neighborhood killing people, and he gets a package which I thought would be from the killer, but apparently not. This has like a dummy that attaches himself to him. Now he lives with a dummy forever on his hand, and the dummy has to help him kill the killer when the killer breaks in. It's a little goofy, but it's not terrible. Ooh, burp. It's not terrible. Um, the third story is about a girl who wants to go out with her boyfriend, but she gets a text from some random guy, and she tells this random guy her address because, and then, of course, it shows up, and spooks happen. Fucking spookity spooks. Spook. It's, it's well directed. It looks nice. I will admit that the black and white for a lot of shots is a little too dark. I don't think this really had to be black and white. It's not really a style choice that I think goes well with a lot of the stories. Whether it been in color or black and white doesn't matter. I think it really doesn't help it or hinder it. But the best story, in my opinion, is probably the second one, mostly because of the tone. The third one is pretty okay. Like I said, it's probably the best for horror, I guess. And then the first one is the generic terrible one, which, you know, most most movies like Creepshow or anthology films usually have one or two not good ones, generic bad ones. But it's okay. It's a 6 out of 10 for an indie director, which I guess if I had to say anything, I would probably put it out a 7 out of 10 just because it is an indie film. But as a movie, I would probably put it around a 5, maybe 4. It's not terrible. It's certainly not the worst indie film I've ever seen, but of course, it's not the best. If I had to give the director, of course, any like opinions, how I think his next movie could be better. If you're going to choose style between color, black, and white, make sure that you have a reason to, because, like I said, it's not like Mad Max or The Mist. It doesn't really give it this noir style because it doesn't feel like a noir film. Um, it doesn't feel like it helps or hurts the film. It just feels like you picked black and white just because you wanted to be artsy, which I'm not a huge fan of people doing. Um, the actors, of course, obviously, it's an indie film, so, there's bound to be not good acting. So I'm not gonna fault you on acting. Directing, I think you're a decent director. You got really good camera work. Your dialogue is shit. I'm sorry, but I would definitely better dialogue. I think if you get someone who could write better dialogue, then I think you would do really good. Acting, like I said, I'm gonna give you a pass on acting. Um, Style, like I said, you need to make your own style. Either come up with your own style of directing, or your own style in general. Doing it black or white or color, it doesn't matter if it if it doesn't fit the film or it doesn't help it. Night of the Living Dead, it being in black and white certainly makes the film what it is. It helps it. I've seen Night of the Living Dead in color, and come on, kitty, kitty. Yeah. I've seen it in color, and it looks like shit. So all I gotta say is I have a few more opinions, but I don't want this review to go on for a long time. So, peace.